already learned that friction is due to the interlocking of irregularities on the surfaces of objects. Now, the big question is, does friction take place in liquids and gases too? Do free-falling objects experience the force of friction? Let us find out about this in today's topic, which is fluid friction. Before we move ahead, let us go through a simple experiment based on Galileo's theory. In this experiment, a heavy ball and a few feathers were dropped from a certain height. What do you think? Which object will hit the ground first? I guess you have the right answer. It is the ball which reaches the ground first. The ball reaches first not because of its weight, it is because of its shape. The force of gravity is same on all objects irrespective of its weight or mass. The same experiment was conducted in this vacuum chamber by removing all the air from it. As you all can see, the ball and the feathers hit the ground at the same time. The only difference between the first and the second situation is the presence of air. The presence of air affected the motion of the objects. We have learned earlier that the force which opposes the motion of an object is known as friction. Therefore, this proves that air has friction. Is it easy to walk on the road or in knee-deep water? Obviously, it requires extra efforts to walk through water. So you see, there is a force which opposes the motion of an object through water. This proves that there is friction in water too. From the above two situations, we can understand that it is not easy for an object to move easily through air and water. The substances which are able to flow easily are called fluids. Air and water, or we can say gases and liquids, have the tendency to flow. Therefore, they can be considered as fluids. The friction that takes place in fluids is known as fluid friction or drag. All objects do not experience the same amount of friction when moving through a fluid. Let's see what are the different factors on which the fluid friction depends. The first factor affecting fluid friction is the nature of the fluid. Each fluid has a different tendency to flow. The resistance to flow is known as viscosity. The friction is high in fluids with high viscosity and it is low in fluids with less viscosity. In this example, you see the marble in water takes least time to reach the bottom because the viscosity in water is lesser, and the marble in oil takes maximum time to reach the bottom because the viscosity in oil is much greater. The next factor affecting fluid friction is the speed of an object. If you are going slow on a vehicle, you can feel a pleasant breeze. But the moment you increase the speed of your vehicle, you can feel the increase in the force of the air hitting you. This means that the friction in air increases with increase in the speed of an object. Let's say you want to pass a paper to a friend who is sitting away from you. If you just throw the paper at him, it may glide in all directions but may not reach him. When you fold the same paper into the shape of a paper rocket, then it will move swiftly in the desired direction. You must have observed the bikers bend forward during a cycling race. The divers take a particular position before they dive into the water. Just imagine what will happen to them if they fall flat on water. In all these situations, you can see that a slight variation in the shape of an object reduces friction in fluids. Streamlining is a process in which the objects moving through fluids are designed in such a way that it reduces friction. These streamlined shapes are inspired by nature. The streamlined shape of an aeroplane resembles the shape of birds. The boats are designed by observing the shape of different fishes, and the submarine resembles the shape of a whale. In order to increase the speed on boats, the cars have undergone so many modifications in their shapes. Let us summarize all the important points that we have learned today. The substances which have the tendency to flow are called fluids. Example, liquids and gases. When an object moving through liquids or gases experiences friction, then that type of friction is called fluid friction. The factors affecting fluid friction are nature of the fluid, speed of the object, and the shape of the object. Fluid friction can be reduced by streamlining the object. Giving a particular shape to an object to reduce friction is known as streamlining. Now you have understood that the force of friction is present everywhere. I hope all the information that you have gathered from this chapter will be helpful in using friction to make life better.